Again, welcome. We are starting today. We're doing more of a functional practice here through gentle yoga on the shoulders, the upper back, and the neck. And of course, all of this is going to affect our capacity not only to move well, but to feel good through our sensory organs. The vagus nerve comes into the face, jaw, ears, throat, and down into the heart, and then spreads all through the lower abdomen. So when we have poor functioning through this area, we may be creating some kind of dysfunction through the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve needs a kind of sense of spaciousness for it to be active. And when it's active, it's actually calming the system. So if we lose spaciousness, then the vagus nerve gets cut off and we'll have more activity, more work through the sympathetic nervous system rather than the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is a very important area, not only just for our mobility and to keep us from having too much tension in the back of the head or through the neck or jaw, but also when we start to have tension patterns there, we'll start to have dysfunction with our rest and digest and heal part of our biology. So grab a couple of blankets or a chair if you need to sit on a chair rather than the floor. If you have a couple of blocks, please grab those. Again, a strap is handy if you have a strap. I'm going to head back to the mat and we will get started. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to just get into a comfortable seat, and we're going to just begin here with some gentle neck movements. I invite you to just take a moment and settle into your seat, feel grounded and comfortable. And then once you're in your seat, take your shoulders and just bring them way up high into your ears and hold them there for a moment and then just let them drop. And once they drop, just a gentle engagement so they stay where they want to live, so that they don't creep up or move. So once they drop, just give yourself a little hug with those shoulders and hold the chest and the upper back in that position. We're going to drop our chin towards our chest, and our opening meditation will just be with our head hanging for a moment. Hands can rest on the lap, on the knees, or with a mudra in your lap. And I want you to just let your head fall forward. And as you do, just begin to tune into the weight of your head. So letting it fall forward, begin to feel its heaviness. And as you feel that heaviness, begin to allow it to be even heavier. So sometimes we hold on to our necks. We hold on to the weight of our head. And so just in the next few moments, just calmly and quietly letting your head fall forward. Just see if you can slowly, by degrees, let it fall a little more and a little bit more. Notice if it's falling from the neck or from the shoulders. Notice if your shoulders start to kind of come forward as well. And remember, we want to just gently keep those shoulders on the upper back. What we want to do is give our brain some time to find these spaces individually. The neck, the shoulders, and the upper back are all integrated and really connected through our nervous system, through our connective tissue system, and all of it helps us to kind of regulate the position of our brain and our head. And so the brain is really kind of ruling what happens here because we have what's called a righting reflex. So no matter kind of where our heads are, our shoulders are, we're going to have a tendency to correct our head. And what happens is sometimes the head becomes out of alignment with the rest of the upper body because of that reflex. Let's go ahead and just take a couple more moments here, just really feeling the back of your neck, feeling the weight of your head. Eyes can be closed. Breath is soft. Notice if there's any tension in your jaw and your tongue. See if you can kind of let them fall, feel heavy as well. And then we're just going to tip our head a bit to one side. So just letting it hang again, but now just an angle, a little bit of an oblique position of the head. Notice if your chin came away from your chest when you drop to the side. Again, there's that just that tendency to kind of want to hold our heads and to right our head alignment. So letting the chin stay heavy, letting the forehead stay heavy, it's just a gentle tip. Sometimes what happens is the shoulders tip as well. So again, we just kind of want to level the shoulders and let the head fall to one side. And you're just going to spend some time and just explore sensation along this side of the neck, kind of as it connects towards the back of the neck. So again, just giving our brain time to just really sense this spaciousness. We'll take a couple more breaths on this side. And then we're just going to slowly come back to the center and pause there. And I just want you, as you pause, notice if you feel any difference between the right and left sides. The side you just stretched and the side you haven't yet stretched. Notice if your chin is falling a little bit closer to your chest, if your forehead's getting heavier, if there's a little more sense of space along the back of the neck. And then we're going to tip the head the second direction, the second angle. And again, kind of watching when we tip, the chin will tend to come away from the chest. Try to not force it down, but we'll just let that front of the face, front of the forehead continue to feel heavy, and just allow the chin to sink towards the chest. Check the shoulders, level them out, spend some time exploring sensation on this side of the neck. The great thing about stretching is it's something that lights up our nervous system. We notice when something's being stretched. And with tension and contracting muscles, if there's chronic tension, chronic contraction, we'll stop noticing that after a while. And we don't even realize that we have tension. So taking these moments and just feeling the stretch and just becoming aware of this area. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring the head back to the center. And maybe now you can feel the difference that there's starting to be a little bit more ease, a little more spaciousness, a little bit more sense of being in this area. From here, we're going to slowly begin to bring our head up. But I want you to try to imagine that you're moving back and up stairs one at a time. And there are 7 stairs. We have 7 joints in our neck. And so from the base of the neck, slide 1 joint, 1 bone back. Keep your chin and your forehead looking down. 2nd bone. Now, as you come up towards the 3rd and 4th, you'll notice that you're slowly bringing your head and chin more into a forward-looking position. Just keep sliding back. But you're going to kind of keep this double chin feeling. You're going to keep your chin a bit tucked so that it's under your forehead. And now we've pulled all 7 bones back in alignment. Sometimes if there is some arthritis or some changes in the neck bones, when you bring your head all the way back, you'll feel your upper back arch, maybe your ribs tip forward. So just to the best of your capacity, keep your sternum vertical, chin over sternum, forehead over chin over sternum. So there's this nice vertical space. Now from here, we're going to take our fingers to the top of our head for just a moment, and keeping that chin tucked, push your fingers into the crown of your head, and as you do so, extend your spine up into the crown of the head. Make yourself just maybe an inch taller. So that's called ramping, head ramping. And it's trying to get the whole spine as long as it possibly can be, and in alignment. And this is where we're going to work a little bit on strength next. We're going to grab our strap. Now, if you don't have a loop in the strap, that's fine. You can just use a flat strap. I have a loop. I'm going to make just a loose loop on my strap. This always looks funny, but it feels great. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring the strap so that I can hold it forward. And I'm going to turn sideways here so you can see. As I pull the strap forward, I'm going to work a little bit more on that ramping. I'm just getting a little bit of strength in the extension of my neck. So I'm pulling forward. I'm not pulling super hard, just hard enough that I can resist it with my neck. Again, sternum, chin, forehead, and a little bit of resistance. And you can kind of go in and out of this, maybe changing arms, seeing if there's any feeling of difference. And after you've done a couple of just repetitive contractions in this extended neck, then what we're going to do is we're going to slide this strap around to the side. And again, I'm going to push back, but now I'm pulling laterally. I'm pulling to the side, and I'm going to let my head go a little bit with that pull. And then I'm going to pull it back up. So now I'm pulling back up with resistance. So those muscles we stretched, now I'm working on keeping them long, but contracting them. So you can see my forehead staying stacked. And little pull, I'm letting my neck go in that stretch. And then keeping them as long as possible, bringing the head back upright. So this is very small, subtle movements, right? Very important to strengthen your neck because your head is heavy. And if the neck starts to kind of release, or we start to have some different head positioning, then the weight of the head starts to have a bigger effect on the bones of our neck and upper back. And we start to get what's called hyperkyphosis, that rounded upper back. All right, so I'm going to switch sides. And again, I want to think about that ramping, and I'm pushing back, chin over the sternum, forehead in alignment, so there's no arching in my upper back. Little tip, pull with the strap, and coming back up to neutral. And again, I'm just repeating this a few times. And going in and out of it. Small, subtle movements. You know, sometimes we think exercise has to be these huge movements, but functional exercises are usually smaller, but those small movements make up those larger kind of cardio movements. And your cardio will be more effective if you have these small movements integrated and ready for those bigger actions. And we will be taking a bigger action. We're going to be working on Chaturanga today, which is a very strong movement. All right, I'm going to just take maybe one more of these. Then I'm just going to pull it around to the front, and just one more time. Now I'm working on both the sides and the back. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to take this right over my head. And again, I'm just pushing up and now back and feeling it side to side. So I know kind of where my neck is positioned to be strong and long. All right, so as you kind of finish those strengthening movements for the neck, you maybe take some time and just roll through your neck, whatever feels good, giving it a little bit of massage if you like. Now we're gonna work on the shoulders. And this next space of movement, it's kind of nice to have your upper back stabilized. I'm going to be moving into this high back chair. You can use a wall or a chair. It's just that it needs to come up high enough onto your back that you can place a block between your shoulder blades. So take a moment and just see how your neck feels, and then we're going to work a bit on our shoulders next. I'm just going to pull this chair forward. You can see me okay. And I'm going to take the block and I'm going to put it between my shoulder blades, and then I'm going to slide back against the back of the chair. And if you can't see my back, it's okay. I know it's kind of dark back there with the chair and my shirt. That's fine, because we're going to be really working on the shoulders. And so this way we want the block, again, or a rolled up towel, or your rolled up yoga mat works. I just want something to kind of hold my upper back still. Now I've done all this nice work on the neck, and so I'm going to make my neck strong and still. So again, here's that ramping, and I'm just thinking about lengthening kind of from the top of my shoulders to my ears, and holding my head steady. So we haven't really worked on the neck yet, or I'm sorry, on the upper back yet, on this thorax part of the spine. So that's why the block. But hold your head steady. We've done that work. Now we're going to come down into the shoulders. And what we're going to start to do is just bring one arm forward. And as I bring this arm forward, I'm going to bring the whole arm and the shoulder blade forward. And because I kind of woke up my neck, and my neck is extended, I can feel where this upper trapezius starts to come into my neck, and it wants to pull my whole body forward. But I'm holding back. I'm pressing into the block, and I'm holding my neck back. All right, so feeling again maybe the stretch. You can bring the arm a little bit across your shoulder, across your chest, so you can feel the stretch a little bit more in your upper back. You can add a little resistance here with your hand if you'd like. Notice if your neck starts to get short, if the shoulders comes into the neck as you stretch it deeper. Right? Sometimes we want to go, again, we want to go hard and as deep as possible, but notice that tendency to override. So shoulder staying down, away from the ears, keep the neck active and lengthening. And if you want to go a little deeper, a little across, keep that shoulder low. And then what we want to do is we want to feel the opposite movement. So I'm just going to come back so my fingers are straight forward. And now I'm going to push that shoulder back. And as I push it back, I can feel where my shoulder blade is pushing into the block. So I'm going to reach forward, stretch the shoulder blade away from the block, and then contract and push the shoulder blade in. And again, watch tendency for the shoulder to come up. Try to keep it level, and you're just going to work through this range of motion in your shoulder blade. And then you can let that arm rest. I'm going to take the second side. Again, you kind of know the movements now. I'm going to just start by stretching it forward, moving it maybe even a little bit more into a stretch, holding my neck steady, keeping my upper back steady. Couple of breaths here, playing with the shoulder rolling up into the neck, the shoulder rolling away from the neck. And then we'll bring that arm forward and stretch it forward, and then pull it back. See if you can feel the ridge of your shoulder blade pushing into your block. So not only noticing the movement from the outside of your body, but also noticing what's happening inside the shoulder, right? So from the outside, I can see my arm moving forward and back. I can feel my shoulder blade rounding my ribs and pushing into the block. I'm also noticing the more subtle reactions of the muscles in my neck. As I hold my neck steady, what's the relationship through this connection from my shoulder blade, which comes up right to the base of my neck, into my neck. And then we're going to add both arms. So I'm going to bring both arms forward. And I even like to act like I'm pushing a wall here. So now I'm getting some strength into this action. Kind of scoop your elbows so that if you bend your elbow it points straight down rather than out to the side, right? So scoop those elbows, push the wall away, feel the shoulder blades. Notice if they creep up or if your chin comes forward like mine just did, right? Keep the neck strong, keep the upper back pressed into your block and push the wall away. And then squeeze the shoulder blades together. Push and squeeze. And we're actually going to be doing this in all fours on the floor here in a moment. So take in this external keeling from the block. Notice there's no movement in your neck or in your upper back. This is movement of your shoulder blades, all right? You take one or two more of these. And when you're done, you can roll your arms out. We'll take the block from behind our back. And now we're going to come into our tabletop position on the floor. Our neck is aware now, our shoulder blades are aware now. And what we'll do next, and as you get into all fours, as you get into tabletop position, if you need blankets under your knees, go ahead and use them. If your wrists don't like being in this position, you can do this in the elbow position, or taking a blanket and making it so you can kind of round your wrists a little bit over the edge of the blanket works as well, right? So we need to work on the capacity to have our hands hold ourselves in this position. It's a really important position to be able to easily get into this 90-degree position with our wrists, and that's why we were pushing the wall this way, right? So we could kind of get active in this place. If you were to fall, your wrist would take the weight of your body in this position, right? So falling on your wrist would be this. And if we haven't had the capacity to really move through our wrists and have strength and integrity there, when we fall, we would be probably fracturing our wrists, right? So do the best you can to come into this position. And what we're going to do is we're going to just take some cat and cows here first, right? So rounding the spine, tucking the chin. Remember that position of lengthening through the back of the neck. Feel the shoulder blades. It's almost like you're pushing the floor away, the shoulder blades round, but we're also pulling our spine up. Tuck your tailbone and press your lower back up. Take a couple of breaths. This is a stretch for the back of the body. So once you're fully into that cat position, take a couple of breaths there and just feel that stretch to the back of your body. And then we're going to slowly come into cow position. Tailbone reaches up, the low back curls down. See if you can pull your shoulder blades together. And rather than just bringing your chin forward, I want you to start with a chin ramp. Pretend that strap's against the back of your neck and bring your head back strongly. So notice there's a difference here in my chin from here to here. This is just cranking my head, but what I want to do is work on my neck. Okay, so kind of keep that chin pulled in. And now contract as much as you can through the back of your body. And take a couple of breaths. You might feel a little stretch through your belly, through the fronts of your shoulders. Right. And then we're just going to move slowly back and forth between cat and cow. And as you do this, really pause in each position. Pay attention to your back body. As you come into cow, stretch it. As you come into cat, squeeze it. Shoulder blades, back body, neck. You take one more. And then what I'd like you to do is find where is your spine neutral, right? So the front of the spine is equally long to the back and your neck is neutral as well. So, and we should know where that is, right? We're just changing our position relative to the earth, but we kind of know how to ramp our neck now, and again, lengthen through the whole spine. And then what we're going to do is those shoulder blade movements in this position. So shoulder blades squeeze together, shoulder blades come apart. And as you're doing this, the spine is not moving into cat and cow at all, right? We're keeping the spine still and just working those shoulder blades. And we'll take one or two more. You're moving at your pace. See if you can feel the movement of the shoulder blades and now use that movement in a way that's strengthening them. Okay, let's take one more. And then we'll take a little stretch break. You can bring your knees wide, rest back towards your heels. The way I like to stretch my shoulders is to roll my palms up and get my thumbs all the way down. Rest back and kind of reach to the fingertips. Try to pull the thumbs towards the mat as you roll the palms up. And just take a couple of breaths there. Whatever position suits you. We're gonna continue to kind of work through a little bit more awareness in our spine. So a couple more breaths of resting wherever you are. And we're going to come into a position that is like a headstand. We're not going to do a headstand. What I find is that in modern Western culture, most people are not very good at understanding the relationship through this upper back and neck area. And we really don't do any day-to-day strengthening for it. And then if you come to yoga and you do a headstand and you just really haven't prepared yourself, it's like going out for a marathon and you've never run distance before. So we're going to work just a little bit on feeling some of the movement through our shoulders, but not coming into a full headstand. If you'd like to eventually have the strength to do that, then the way to do that is to carry stuff on your head. This is a super light block, but if I were carrying something heavy, and rather than holding it in my arm and kind of, using just my shoulder, I could use my shoulders, my neck, and kind of start to work on strengthening my shoulders and neck by carrying it on my head. And I do that a lot day to day so that I start to build my neck strength, okay? So here we go. We're going to come into a bit of a headstand position. What I'll have you do is come first of all onto your elbows. And I'm going to just kind of turn sideways here a little bit so you can see. Coming onto your elbows, and then bring your hands to your elbows. And that's going to be shoulder width apart, more or less. Then bring your hands into this kind of V position and interlace your fingers. Okay, so measuring so your elbows are shoulder width apart, bringing your hands together, interlacing your fingers. You're going to place your fingers around the kind of the back of your head, and the crown of your head will be towards your pinky fingers. So really tucking in. Once you're in, you should feel the crown of your head on your mat, all right? And then I'm going to get into that work of doing cat pose through my shoulders. So I'm going to push into my elbows, widen my shoulder blades. I'm going to push just a little bit into my head and a little bit into my hands. And as I'm doing that, my voice is kind of going into my shirt. So I'm popping in and out of it so you can hear my vocalization, but you're going to stay there. And once you get there and feel kind of strong in that position, what we're going to do is we're going to work on lower back mobility, right? So we're going to hold our head steady so we can see if we can cat and cow our lower back. So round and
create strength in your upper back. And now, cat-cow, your lower back.
Use the floor as a stabilizing force through your upper body, and see if you can move your lower body and hips through that cat-cow kind of action. And just take a couple more of these. And when you're ready, you can rest back in that child's pose stretch, or you can take a downward facing dog and kind of stretch out through your legs. Whatever feels good, right? Take a little break. So what we're going to do next is we're going to just slowly move through cat and cow, but now we're going to try to move segmentally through our spine. So before, when we were in cat and cow, we were just simply holding positions. We were holding cat and holding cow. Now we're going to try to move segmentally through our spine and see if we can get our nervous system to really recognize this. And I want you to work on not moving your head until you get through your shoulders, right? So, and the easiest way to do this is to start from the butt. So I'm going to start by slowly tucking the pelvis, right? Just that action. And then I'm going to round the upper back. Notice my head has not dropped yet. And I'm going to pause there. And now I'm going to tuck that chin and lengthen the neck. And then I'm going to slowly reverse it. Keep the chin and head and shoulders right where they are, like they're in that kind of that headstand position. Now just the tailbone, pelvis, lower back. Just the cervical, just the thoracic spine, shoulder blades. And then finally, neck and head. So rolling through segmentally a couple of times here. Take it one more time through. See if you can really sense these sections of your spine and what attaches to it around your hips, around your ribs, shoulders, and into the neck and head. And then again, take a break. You can go down dog. You can go into a flow if you'd like to, or you can just rest. Gentle yoga, I tend to not show a flow, but if somebody's familiar with it, they certainly can take that flow. And what we're going to do is, as you get done with your break or with your movement, we're going to take our blocks and we're going to come into chaturanga a little bit here, but we're going to do it where we're really stable. So taking the blocks and stacking them, and I'm going to just put my chest right on them. All right, and you're just going to find the position that feels comfortable. Boobs matter, right? And we want to be able to be stacked high enough to have our elbows bent. And again, that scooping of the elbows, you should see the crease of your elbow joint. So I'm going to turn this way. I have two arm positions. I call this bulldog arms, and this is more Sphinx style arms, right? So we want those Sphinx style arms. So again, just let your trunk be sturdy on your blocks. Get those elbows so that they're Sphinx style. And here again, the wrists are loaded in that 90-degree angle. So doing your best. Maybe if your wrists don't take this well, you don't push up. What we want to do is find neck length, shoulder strength, and the shoulder strength is going to be halfway between cat and cow. So I'm working on just rounding those shoulder blades and squeezing them together, and then find halfway. And then I'm gonna play with my pelvic tilt here. And I'm lengthening my lower back and contracting it and lengthening it. What we want to do is have, again, neutral. So it's not going to be like a super tucked pelvis and a flat lower back, but also not a scooped one. What tends to happen is when we push up, we tend to kind of scoop our butt up first, and then from our lower back, push up, right? So we want to find neutral in that lower back. And again, maybe you don't even push up, right? So neck, shoulders, low back. Now all I'm going to do now is I'm going to play with pushing through my heels one at a time. So I'm straightening the knee, pushing through my heels one at a time. And then I'm going to do both. So here I am in a chaturanga position. And I'm just playing with what would it be like to push off those blocks in that position. And if you cannot push off, it's fine. You're simply working through your nervous system to allow your body to find the strength that's there. And if the strength's not there yet, it's okay. And I can tell you, for me, some days it's there and some days it's not there. Right? If you push off, it is coming from your shoulder blades, oof, not from your lower back scooping, right? So just take another moment or two working through this on your own. It's a lot of work. And again, it's really coming from the shoulders, because that's where the movement's happening, is in the arms, right? Everything else is holding steady. If you have a tendency to move from some other part, like maybe lifting your head first or lifting your butt first, that's information. That's probably how you move whenever your shoulders are being challenged. As you finish, go ahead and take a break, rest back or flow. Just checking something really quickly here. Okay. Sorry, I'm still new to hosting Zooms. I've been in about a zillion Zoom meetings over the past 5 months, like everybody else. But hosting them still makes me want to check on things every once in a while. All right, we're going to end with some gentle stretches. We really found strength. And so now we're going to just see if we can relax some of that strength. And we're going to work kind of more into the front of the shoulders next. So as you feel ready, after you've rested or flowed through some movements, I'm going to come back to a seated posture. And I like to do this work in this kind of kneeling position. And again, I'm going to stay sideways here so you can see. I want to find neutral spine, long neck, stacked ribs. I'm going to bring the strap around behind me, and I'm going to turn my palms forward. So again, as I turn my palms forward, that takes those elbow joints and takes them more into that sphinx position or the sagittal plane, not so much a bulldog plane. And I'm going to start to pull into the strap, pull my hands off the strap, and then slide the strap up. Now you'll notice that I don't have a lot of strength to do it from my arms. And what did I do? I rounded my back. So notice that in yourself. See if you can keep your back neutral, your head neutral, and find where the challenge is to your arms, to the back of your shoulders to contract. And the more there's tension across the front of the shoulders, the more your upper back will have to work to overcome that. And we're just going to take some little tricep moves here, bending the elbows and straightening them. So this work is coming from the back of your arms, from the tricep area. Neutral spine, lifting the upper arms, keeping those elbows so that the pits are forward, the points are back, and working through contracting the back of the arms, stretching through the front, maintaining as best you can what's going on in your spine, and then releasing. We're going to take that strap and just bring it kind of halfway. I'm going to turn front ways now. Just bring it kind of up overhead. And I've got my palms facing forward, and I'm just going to take a nice little stretch to one side, reaching up, pulling gently. You can take this into the ribs. Maybe bring it a little forward, stretch it. If you don't have a strap, it's okay. You can just take that towel and maybe open it out. Bring that strap around behind. Bring it up and take it the other way. You can move, you can hold, breathe. You gotta just find what feels good for you. And if you've taken some nice shoulder stretches, go ahead and roll those shoulders out. Let's just come back to where we started. So we've gone full round from stretching to kind of separating the different parts and then integrating and strengthening them. So now we're going to come back and we're just going to revisit the stretches we did to our neck, but our neck's now ready to maybe take some bigger movements as well. Again, remember, these are gentle movements. So I'm just going to start where we started, dropping the chin down. Feeling that, feels lovely. It won't take quite as long because now we know kind of how to relax this area. We know how to sense it. We're going to take our head over to one side. Remember to keep the chin kind of close to the collarbone. Kind of stretching and feeling this side. Dropping it back to the center. Still noticing that there's still this feeling of more spaciousness right after a stretch. And so many times when we have tension in our neck, the first thing we go to is to a stretch, because innately we know stretching creates space. But notice how, I'm going to ramp our head up. Notice how after this work of contracting and creating this nice integrative strength, how much more now your neck is willing to relax and actually go into the stretch. So again, a stretch kind of lights up our nervous system. We feel it, and we innately know that a stretch is what we need to do to release that contractual tension. But if we're always contracted, always tense, and suddenly we stretch something, what happens is our nervous system actually kind of blocks the stretch from happening because it's so different. So we want to just slowly not only stretch and create space, but also strengthen so that when we are stretching, we can feel the difference, right, between contracting something and letting it go. Tension is a different kind of animal. It's not really an active contraction. It's a passive, chronic state of being. So what we're going to do next, we're going to slowly take our head towards kind of making a circle all the way around. Ramp your neck, lengthening it, turn and look over one side. And now we're going to take that kind of that down position of our chin towards our collarbone, coming back to neutral. But I also want you to look up just a little bit. And again, try to do that by keeping your chin a little close in and pulling the crown of your head back. And then taking it through that range of motion. So it's ramping it, but it's ramping it to one side. And then you're just going to come back to neutral nose, come back around to the center, and now second side. Again, long neck, look over your shoulder, come back to that stretch position. Now strengthen it as you look up, actively contracting through the back and sides of the neck. And again, a couple of these. And then neutral, come back. Now we've done this tipping down, we're gonna do that, but now we're gonna look up. And again, slowly look up. Try not to just bring the chin forward. Do this by contracting the back of the neck. And then bringing it down. Chin kind of stays tucked. It's as if you're pushing into that strap as you're moving your head back, and then a little tip up. All right, so we're going to put all those 4 directions into play, and this will be just starting slow, and just see if you can do it gently, smoothly, and without a lot of work. We just did the work. Now we're going to try and move with as much ease as possible. So let your head be light on the top of your neck, and just, I like to close my eyes for this. We're just going to start by just circling our nose right in front of us, and you'll kind of start to feel, oh yeah, there's those familiar movements. My shoulders are staying firm, my lower back and mid back are staying long. And if it feels comfortable, if it feels easy and smooth, you're going to start to make your circles a little bit bigger. And maybe a little bit bigger. So you start to just incorporate more and more of your neck in this movement. And maybe it's as big as like your nose is circling the whole room. We're going to change directions, and what I invite you to do is, first of all, make your circles smaller. Keep going in the same direction. Make your circles smaller. And then reverse it and change direction, starting with the smaller circles. And then slowly, as it feels right for you, make those circles bigger. And again, we're just allowing smooth, easy movement. Letting it come through our whole neck. And then as you're ready, you're going to start to make those circles smaller again. Until your circles. Bring your nose right back to the center point. And the head feels light. And then pause there. Light body. Head is loose and easy on the top of the neck. You can kind of let it bob just a little bit. Notice how that feels. If you've had any chronic situations with your neck or with your jaw, just notice how it feels right now. So again, take this internal cueing, this moment of just really noticing how things feel. And then we're going to come into our final meditation. So our final meditation usually is done laying back on our mat. As you lay back on your mat and relax, you're going to notice if there's nothing underneath you. If you're laying flat on the floor, notice if your chin kind of rises and is higher than your forehead. That again just shows some chronic tension in the muscles at the back of your neck. Now hopefully after all of this work, as you lay back, your neck will be long and extended, and you'll be laying on the back of your head with your chin and forehead level. But if not, adjust yourself with a blanket so that your head is relaxed. So your blanket will you'll use it like a pillow. And then you'll let your arms flop out to the side. Feel your shoulders kind of broaden and widen. Let your legs, either let your knees be bent or straight, or if it feels really good for you to kind of come into that bound angle position, you let your legs kind of knees drop out to the side. You can place your blocks under your knees if you'd like to for support. So in this final meditation, we want to come into as much ease as possible. And as you find your position, I'm going to take you through a little bit of a guided meditation. And then I'm going to let the video stop, and you will be able to remain in your final meditation, or you can absolutely come out whenever you're ready. So I hope you've settled. And again, we're just going to take a moment. We're just going to kind of move through our upper body really slowly, becoming aware of that internal cueing, that internal sense of ourselves. So begin by feeling the weight of your head at the back of your head. Remembering how heavy our head was and letting it become settled, letting it become almost a part of the earth. You can almost feel like your head's softening and melting into the earth. If you have hair, feel your hair heavy falling back, and the skin along your hairline, from the forehead to the ears, it kind of softens, falls back. There's a widening across the forehead and brow. Imagine your ears are heavy and they're falling back, and there's this widening across the jaw and cheeks. Your jaw's heavy. The teeth come apart between the upper and lower jaws, but the lips are going to be just ever so gently sealed. If there's any stuffiness in your nose, leave the lips open. The breath is quiet and soft. Your tongue falls away from the roof of the mouth and becomes small. There's a spaciousness along the inner edge of your eyes as the breath moves through your nostrils, they soften, and the space just behind your eyes opens as the sinus cavities relax. And then let your eyes kind of fall back into that space. Let your eyes become heavy in their sockets. The space just between your eyebrows opens as the eyes become heavy, forehead and cheeks become heavy. This is your central space now, softening away from, right at the top of your nose between your eyebrows. The Ajna chakra, sometimes called the third eye. All of this tension falling away from that space so that can open. And that's that inner eye. That's that inner knowing. And so with that third eye opening, you start to look inside at the space between the ears and behind the eyes. Here we have the space where mind and brain and consciousness connects to body and sensory awareness. Those two are never separate. We are integrated and we're whole. Our consciousness is a part of our sensory awareness. Our mind, our brains are a part of our physical body. All of it integrates into this whole experience of being you. And this inner eye is opening the view onto yourself, onto all that you are, including all the stories of who you are. And as you come into this space and really see yourself fully, notice if any of those stories are burdens that you're carrying across your shoulders, things that are making you have heavy thoughts. Heavy isn't bad, but heavy can become burdensome, and burdensome is problematic. We want to feel a kind of lightness in life. And so if we have these heavy thoughts or stories about ourselves, what we want to do is digest them, process them like we would a heavy meal. Nothing wrong with having a nice heavy full meal, but we want to spend some time digesting the food or digesting the stories or the heavy thoughts that we're carrying with us, rather than just continually holding them in ourselves. So filter through those right now. What are burdens that you've just carried with you that you can release? What are kind of heavier, deeper, more full thoughts that you need to process and digest? Or can you simply clear the mind completely? Wherever you are is perfect. Maybe you stay with that sorting. Maybe you found one particular thought you need to process and digest. Maybe you feel light and spacious and open. I'm going to work through the rest of this guided meditation as if you are processing one particular heavy or deep or full thought. And what I'd like you to do now is take that into the area of your neck and throat. Just bring it a little bit from the head and kind of opens at this neck. We're ready to allow that to come into the space of the vocal cords, the place of expression. And maybe in your meditation, you even begin to vocalize your thought, your burden, your awareness that you'd like to release. You begin to talk through it. This is kind of one of the beauties of practicing virtually, as you can begin to do this in the privacy of your own home. Let that thought come into your throat. If you don't feel like vocalizing it, just allow it as if you're speaking through it. Another beautiful practice with yoga is to use a mantra in this space. So particularly if you can't quite verbalize, you can use a mantra to kind of give you that action of verbalization. So if the thought is not quite cohesive, just begin to hum. And let that hum just kind of really become active in the throat. It's kind of a buzzy hum towards the back of your mouth and neck. A kind of drone sound. Allow that to be just your mantra. Take a few more moments processing, digesting, allowing this sensation to move into your throat. And then you can soften the mantra or stay there if that feels right for you. The next thing is to allow it to be felt across the space of the shoulders and heart. Open space, compassionate space, space where we process our emotions. Let that thought drop into this space. Feel with your inhale a spaciousness and opening. And with your exhaling, a gentle squeezing and releasing. So just like if you were to try to clean out a sponge after you've kind of mopped up something, you would gently pump through it to release the mess that it has absorbed, right? So this is where you're going to begin to digest those thoughts. We've moved from kind of sorting to beginning to activate and feel them in us through the humming or the verbalization. And now through the breath in the chest, maybe allow that breath to drop into the belly. And now we're just absorbing and releasing. And this is where I invite you to kind of stay and breathe and release until you feel that you have really processed whatever you need to process today. And if you're not done and you feel like it's time to turn away from it, that's fine too. You can set it aside and come back to it later. I hope that this was a practice that brought you into deeper awareness of the connections and the integrations of our minds to our bodies through the space of our throat, our neck, and our shoulders. That the brain and the heart are truly connected and one. And as we work through these connections in ourselves, we see them in one another, and we learn to negotiate this life with a kind of deeper awareness, with our hearts literally kind of there as a part of our shoulders and our sleeves. And we can see and be in this world more deeply and fully connected. Thank you.